elected officials and hopefully get some answers to some of the questions that we have. I know that I'm not able to answer the questions that you have. I'm not in a position to do so, but I hope that this gives you a venue to give voice to your concerns, and the video will be sent to our officials. A brief background about me. I'm in the final semester of law school at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. I'm really concerned about our country because I love it so much, and I think it's really important that our representatives work for us and they fulfill their responsibility to come home and hear what their constituents have to say. And whenever they aren't willing to do that, I think we need to pick up the slack and show them that we care too. And we're going to keep caring and we'll keep being here. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. First off, I want to acknowledge the travel difficulties that this location posed. I know that this prevented many people from attending, and that the group of people assembled tonight will not express all of Pittsburgh's views, and I acknowledge that first off. Welcome to everyone that was able to come. How exciting! I'm thrilled to see you all. Congratulations to everyone that made it. This takes a lot of courage and commitment. And most importantly, this is the first step in an effective democracy. You all showed up and you're ready to get your voices heard. The agenda tonight, we're going to have a speaker from the Allegheny County Democratic Party, and then we're going to have an overview of, quickly, I invited speakers from both parties. This is a nonpartisan event. I wanted it to be totally representative. The people who will be speaking are the people that responded. And the idea is to give people the tools to become more civically and politically engaged as we move forward over the next year, 4 years, and into the future.
If you have an empty seat beside you, can you raise your hand? There are people out in the hallway, so we get as many people's seats as possible. Thank you. You need a seat, come in, and an empty seat by the people who have a hand raised.
Okay. Then we're going to do a brief overview of the Affordable Care Act, why it matters, what we can do to help. Then we're going to hear from Kate, Public School Teachers Organization. Then we're going to go over some true facts about gerrymandering. Why do you care? Again, why does it matter? And then we're going to open the floor up to questions. Thanks everyone for coming. Let's get started.
Democratic Party, and I'm proud to be a leader of the Democratic Party. So I'm here to tell you, if you're not a Democrat, or if you're an independent, and if you're somebody who's mad as hell and you want to take this country back, I'm here to tell you that we want you in the Democratic Party. And there's a number of ways you can get involved. In 2018, Democratic committee seats across this county are going to be on the ballot. We want you guys running for those Democratic committee seats. It only requires 10 signatures. If you don't want to run for a committee seat, our office, our headquarters is downtown Pittsburgh, and we will connect you with your local committee. We have a Democratic committee in every community in Allegheny County. And if we don't have one, we want you to start it. So we are fired up. We know the Republicans cheated us this last election, but you know what? We're going to organize, and we're going to make sure in 2018 we have them outgunned. That the Democrats come out, and we will be elected against the accountability and remind them who they work for. So I am proud to be be a leader and a soldier with you in this mission and stand next to you. I look forward to fighting these battles in the years ahead. And we're going to win because we have the ideas and we have the people on our side. It's no mistake that they haven't shown up here. They believe in their ideas. They just know they can't sell them, and they're not going to sell their bill of goods to the American people, and we're not going to take it. So I want to say thank you for your energy. Thank you for your activism. Let's go out there and take back this country.
The Affordable Care Act. And part of that is I am in the healthcare industry and have been for the last 25 years. I started out as an employee with one of the major insurance companies here in Western PA, and in fact, I'm somewhat ashamed to say I've actually worked for all of them. But in the last 15 years, I am out on my own as an independent broker. So I do work with, not for, a number of different insurance companies. But for the purposes of tonight's discussion, I'm going to limit the information to only data that has been fact-checked. So, one of the So, the information was provided by the Pennsylvania Health Network, and it is specific to what they believe, and I'm sure a lot of us believe, will happen if the Affordable Care Act is repealed. President Trump and the Republicans have vowed to repeal the Affordable Care Act, as we all know. And while there's been a lot of news coverage and a lot of talk, Congress headed home and really did not present any acceptable replacement plan. However, before leaving D.C. for their recess, the Congressional Republicans previewed the latest proposal to dismantle the ACA. Although it's light on policy specifics, the plan looks like they're deciding to drastically cut Medicaid for seniors, children, low and middle income families, and people living with disabilities. Okay, you may not know this, but Medicaid funds help pay for cutting-edge equipment in the NICU units and in the emergency rooms across the country, and specifically Pennsylvania. And it helps to pay for seniors to get services they need that will allow them to age in their own homes. Medicaid funds also help keep the doors of rural hospitals open, and they help police and community officials provide treatment for people who are fighting addictions. If Congress makes huge cuts to Medicaid, our state is going to be forced to use our own tax dollars to make up the difference. Now, that's going to leave us holding the bag if there's a crisis such as a natural disaster or any kind of medical epidemic. And this is going to cause a ripple effect throughout our state's economy and healthcare system. Medicaid is an important safety net program, and it's available for those who are the most vulnerable of our citizens, and they really should be protected. If the Affordable Care Act is repealed without a simultaneous replacement, it will have economic consequences for Pennsylvania as well. The Independent Fiscal Office of Pennsylvania says that we will face a $2 billion structural deficit. A repeal of the ACA without an immediate replacement would cause economic disaster for the state. It is estimated that by 2019, there will be a loss of 137,000 jobs, an increase in state spending by $702 million, and the increase in the rate of the uninsured is projected to be 134%. By 2023, almost $37 billion will be lost in federal funds. $128 billion would be lost in state business output, and $76 billion lost in gross state product. Congressional Republicans are promoting the idea of block grants and per capita caps, as well as health savings accounts. This approach could cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars and force it to make significant cuts to benefits. In addition, HSAs generally are set up to benefit the most wealthy Americans. Virtually every person in the United States is affected by their ability to access health care. Now, the Affordable Care Act has affected those areas in a lot of different ways. To begin with, mental health and substance abuse disorder has become accessible under the ACA. 125,000 people have access to plan through the Medicaid expansion. Another 159,000 have gotten treatment for mental health disorder, and an additional 99,000 people have accessed mental health or substance use disorder treatment through the marketplace. Without the Affordable Care Act, counties and states, Pennsylvania, would need to find ways to fund that treatment. At a time when Pennsylvania has one of the largest rates of opioid-related deaths in the country, over 3,000 last year, it's really irresponsible to jeopardize that coverage for those who depend on it and receive the benefits through the ACA. Under the Affordable Care Act. 89,000 young adults in Pennsylvania could lose their coverage if they can't stay on their parents' plan. In addition, that includes the kids that are aging out of foster care at 18. Right? Pennsylvania's rate of uninsured kids is at an all-time low. It's at 4.1%. Affordable Care Act. Medicaid and CHIP should be protected because they cover 40% of Pennsylvania's children. Seniors and persons with disabilities are some of the most vulnerable citizens in our state, and they will certainly be affected. Closing the Medicare donut hole has saved more than $1.3 billion on drug costs for Medicare recipients. More than 1 million seniors in Pennsylvania receive no-cost preventative care under the Affordable Care Act. Now, here's the part that makes financial sense. The Affordable Care Act reforms have added nearly 11 years to the life of the Medicare Trust Fund. And that's ensuring the financial stability of that program. I'm telling you, I'm looking around the room, there's a lot of us that are counting on that, right? Women have historically been disadvantaged. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, women were charged as much as 40%, 47% more than men were for the exact same coverage. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, only 7.5% of individual plans covered maternity and prenatal care. Now, it's an essential health benefit. Right now, because of the Affordable Care Act, nobody faces a lifetime maximum or a lifetime limit to their benefits. They cannot be denied coverage because of a pre-existing condition. Providing coverage for preventative and routine care is really just the right thing to do, but it costs way less to prevent illness than it does to treat it. Affordable Care Act is daunting, and we need to preserve the parts that are working to protect Pennsylvania families. So what do? Reach out to your elected officials, encourage opposition to block grants and per capita caps and health savings accounts. But make sure that you're educated on the facts and issues. Get involved in local politics and let people know what you think and what you feel. As Lizzie said, coming today is the first step. So give yourselves a round of applause. Because this really is democracy in action. Lizzie is next, babe. Yeah, I thought you said Kate.
Hi, everybody. Our names are Sarah Deer and Sheila Datillo, and we represent a local group of concerned citizens called CAPE, which stands for Citizens Advocating for Public Education. But forgive us the way we're dressed, it was Get Fit Week, so we are a group of progressive, activist citizens who want to ensure that all children have access to quality education and are granted equal rights regardless of who they are or what they believe. Our mission is to fight for public education under the current presidential administration. We believe in the accuracy of science and the rights of oppressed minority groups. I wish my husband was here to see you all clapping like this. I'll expect it when I go home. We stand in opposition to several initiatives of the Trump administration which we believe to be harmful to children. As our state senator, we are looking to you to lead our state in opposition to policies which are harmful to children and to public education. So we have 4 opposition statements we'd like to read.
Opposition 1 is in regards to our transgender youth. The Trump administration just this week rolled back protections for transgender students, reversing federal guidance that required the nation's public schools to allow children to use the bathrooms and the locker rooms that match their gender identities. Senator Toomey, will you promise to protect Pennsylvania's most vulnerable populations of children from discrimination based on their gender identity?
Probably not.
Opposition 2 is in regards to children's health and the health of the environment in which children live and play. Mr. Trump signed an executive order requiring federal agencies to scrap 2 regulations for every one they institute on small businesses. In its first week, his administration suspended 30 environmental regulations issued under President Barack Obama. And Myron Ebel, who oversaw the agency's transition team, suggested recently that the EPA staff may soon be reduced by as much as 2/3. Senator Toomey, will you promise to protect our water, and air from polluters so that our children can safely play outside. Regarding immigration, Fernando Stein, president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, explained in a press release, immigrant families are our neighbors. They are part of every community, and they are our patients. The executive orders signed by Trump are harmful to immigrant children and families throughout our country. Pennsylvania educators value all students, regardless of their place of birth. Senator Toomey, will you promise to protect Pennsylvania's youth?
Opposition number 4 regarding the newly appointed Secretary of Education.
Back to kindergarten.
According to Laura Bay, the National PTA, quote, Betsy DeVos was confirmed as U.S. Secretary of Education. Throughout the confirmation process, National PTA joined other education, civil rights, disabilities, and community organizations in expressing strong concerns for Secretary DeVos's lack of experience with public education, unfamiliarity with the challenges and opportunities facing the nation's public school students, families, and educators, and supportive programs that divert critical public school resources. DeVos has never attended, worked in, nor sent her children to public schools. She has no government experience and no experience running or managing a bureaucracy or a large organization. Yet the vast majority of the GOP found her to be good enough for our children. Maybe because DeVos has spent much of her adulthood donating millions to politicians so that she can, in turn, lobby them to support her favorite pet cause, vouchers that give money to conservative religious schools with zero strings attached. In addition, she shows a lack of knowledge and preparation. DeVos failed to prepare for her own confirmation hearing with even a baseline level of adequacy. News outlets gave DeVos's confirmation hearing performance a failing grade. The Los Angeles Times editorial board went so far as to say that she'd embarrassed herself. DeVos also revealed that she didn't understand a basic tenet of one of the most important education laws, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. DeVos has said that she wants to, quote, advance God's kingdom, unquote, through school reform, a view that is far from mainstream. Similarly, many of her family members' views, which she has, whether genuinely or shrewdly, sought to distance herself from recently, are alarmingly extreme, such as support for conversion therapy, opposition to same-sex marriage, or the view that intelligent design should be taught in schools.
Jesus.
During DeVos's hearing, Senator Bernie Sanders asked DeVos, quote, do you think that if you were not a multi-billionaire, if your family had not made hundreds of millions of dollars in contributions, that you would be sitting here today, unquote? The implication that DeVos is only being considered for this job, which would be her first as a public servant, as a political favor to reward her for years of donations is not without merit. While Senator Alexander asserted in his post that her critics dislike her because she's wealthy, in reality, it's because her wealth appears to be buying her a cabinet post for which she is unqualified to hold. Over $200 million to Republicans nationally, including sizable donations to many of the senators who voted on her confirmation. In fact, DeVos is open. DeVos is open about her support of pay for play, once stating that, quote, I have decided to stop taking offense at the suggestion that we are buying influence. Now I simply concede the point. They're right, we do expect something in return, unquote. What is DeVos's vision for how to improve public education? Despite a hearing and several weeks of scrutiny, no one knows. She dodged basic questions at the hearing to the point of ridicule. At one point, in response to questioning by Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, DeVos simply repeated her stock phrase, "I support accountability," yet refused to discuss even the most basic of related policy details. What we do know about DeVos is that she wants to divert money now spent on public education, which is guaranteed for all students, to private schools that can turn students away or kick them out because of their gender identity or sexual orientation, a disability that is an inconvenience to school personnel, any behavior they deem problematic, or essentially any other reason of their choosing. Given that a significant chunk of the country has no access to private school options, this plan will also mean significantly fewer education dollars overall in many areas, often in districts that simply cannot afford to lose funding. It is not partisan, unfair, or desperate to worry about DeVos's appointment. Rather, it is born out of a real fear that putting DeVos in charge of the nation's public schools could inflict severe harm on our nation's most vulnerable students. DeVos and her husband have been supporters of charter schools for decades and longtime opponents of regulation. Civil rights groups like the NAACP have often expressed concern that low-income children and children of color suffer when oversight is scaled back. Indiana's school choice program started under the governor prior to Mike Pence as a small pilot tailored to poor families that did not believe public schools were providing their children with an adequate education. Governor Pence, however, escalated this program into a de facto entitlement for middle-upper-class families, pulling millions of dollars from the poorest schools so that these most affluent families could subsidize a private school education for their kids. Betsy DeVos wants to expand these voucher programs to as many states as possible. Pence likes to claim that Indiana has the largest voucher program in the country. What he does not like to admit is that in 5 years of this program, Indiana's taxpayers have spent more than $345 million to religious schools with little to no state oversight or regulation. These taxpayer dollars would have otherwise funded public education in that state. Finally, and according to a recent first-of-its-kind study of Indianapolis choice schools by the University of Notre Dame, there are no measurable academic benefits for students using vouchers. At some schools, the study showed student academic losses in math. Meanwhile, Indiana has yet to evaluate its school choice program to determine potential impacts on public school funding, student diversity, and student achievement. Instead of supporting the neediest students, voucher programs often provide tuition assistance to families who can already afford to send their children to private schools. DeVos, Trump, and Pence plan to implement policies that I believe will, plain and simple, hurt public education and our nation's students. Senator Toomey, will you promise to stand up for public education in Pennsylvania and not divert funds to religious schools with no state oversight or regulation? That Senator Toomey has objectives that are not in our best interest. For these reasons, several northern area educators and concerned citizens have formed this group we call CAPE, Citizens Advocating for Public Education. We held our first meeting last Tuesday, at which time we each chose a state politician to educate ourselves on. We invite anyone interested in standing up for children in public education to join us at our next meeting, when we will host the Southwest Director for Pennsylvania under Governor Tom Wolf. She will be our speaker. Her name is Erin Mulchaney. Erin was named by Pittsburgh Magazine as one of the 40 under 40 in 2013 for her legislative and nonprofit career work. If you wish to receive more information about our group, please pick up a flyer with our contact information on the back table, wherever that is. Thank you very much for your time.
Presentation on gerrymandering, but given the size of the crowd and how many questions I think everybody would like to ask, there's a poster up here about gerrymandering and why it's important. There are handouts in the back from Fair District, PA. Basically, gerrymandering is a way to select the voters that you would like to maintain power and control the legislative agenda. It's detrimental, and the only way to disrupt it is at a local level. I'm going to start with the first question for Senator Toomey, and then give the floor to the rest of the people that have questions. Senator Toomey, how can you defend your choice to support Jeff Sessions for Attorney General, given his history of racism and inability to defend immigration and general bigotry. I was thinking about where I wanted to go was based on Jeff Sessions' investments in private prisons and the recent decision to rescind the memo on private prisons. How can you defend your decision in light of ever-increasing evidence that he is unable to pursue an impartial agenda?
Hi, my name is Carol. I am 71 years old, and I've fought all these fights before. But I've lived to fight another day, and I am going to fight. I wanted to announce, I'm involved in a meetup group. It's called #Resist Pittsburgh. If anybody wants to join, one good thing about it is that we are just, right now we have over 700 members, and it just opened up last week. A lot of people belong to other groups, like I don't know if Kate also belongs to Resist, but it's a good place to post your events. And so if you're having a meeting in, maybe you came here from Plum Borough and it's a long drive, but you can set up some kind of a meeting near where you live, or if you belong to another organization like Indivisible, please do so. One of the things that I have done, by the way, I'm a retired art teacher in public school. One of the things that I did, and it's on the website, is we have a photo section. I made an album that is for protest signs. And so far, I've designed 40 protest signs. They can be downloaded. You can put them on a flash drive. I took mine to the FedEx office over here. FedEx office charges $1.36 plus tax. You can't beat it. For an 17 sign. When I went to the Women's March, I made 50 of them and passed them out at the metro station, just for anybody that would take one. So, and I have, they cover everything from women's health to environmental issues and the Affordable Care Act, whatever. So, I just wanted to very briefly, I don't really have a question. I think I'm going to scold. That I am, what? Okay, all right. One of my problems there's so many issues that concern me. And one of my questions is how can all of the representative that represents me is Kelly. He's Republican. Casey and Toomey, of course, are everybody's senators from Pennsylvania. All of them are Catholics, and yet I see no compassion, no empathy. I see hypocrisy. You know, just simple things like, I'm asking you, why are you so hypocritical? And why do you not stand up to the president? I mean, he's on his way down. You're going to go down with him.
Sorry, I didn't see you.
No, keep on the line. And I meant to say before, I did invite, or other members did invite Mike Kelly and Tim Murphy. I'm not their constituent, so I didn't put their name up here because I don't want to represent something that isn't totally accurate so that everyone isn't maligned. But they were invited. They're also not coming to town halls. They also did not come.
Hello, my name is Carly. I'm 11 years old, and I go to a public school, and I have a disability. So, Senator Toomey, what are you going to do for me?
I have not been paid, nor have I been recruited to be here tonight. I am here to ask a question, but first to say that I'm here to add my voice to progressive values and free speech. And these are some very important things that are concerning me. There's, this is just a few of them. Healthcare, human rights, and civil liberties, which include everything from Black Lives Matter, women's rights, transgender equality, and so forth. The environment, Social Security, truth and free speech, relief for school loans, nuclear proliferation, immigration, the water protectors, and so on and so on. These are all things that have been, in the news that are really alarming when I see some of the things that are happening around them. So my question, Senator Toomey, is when I see the press or when I see people trying to get a straight answer from the Trump administration, I don't understand why we can't get a straight answer. That does not include fast talk, doublespeak, alternative facts, and many other things, avoidance, and all kinds of avoidance. I think it's used to keep us in the dark. So that is basically my question: is why cannot you or somebody speak to the press? And I'm very, very offended at the way that our press just keeps, being called liars and so forth. And I don't really care what network it is. We need a free press. Why can we not get a straight answer to all these really legitimate and very critical and crucial things that are going on in our country right now? Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Holly Neely. I am from Pittsburgh. I am a public school teacher, and I have a great deal of concern about what's happening in our state legislature. Things like they're going to take away our sick days. They're going to take money away from our city schools. I work for Pittsburgh Public Schools. I am not a paid protester. I am a valid. very, very scarily taking fathers and mothers of my students and deporting them, etc. It's not a good thing. And I want to know, what are you doing about that? I want to know why there's an increase in all of these deportations, but there hasn't been anything publicly stated about it, except for the Muslim ban, which people are saying is not really a Muslim ban. It's not okay. I also want to introduce my daughter. She has a question for a Representative Eichelberg, who made a comment about children in city schools.
Hello, my name is Monica Neely. I want to ask, why do you think that you can tell people in city schools that you can only become plumbers or electricians?
I'm a registered voter in the state of Pennsylvania. My zip code is 15214. George Soros has not offered me a thing to be here. So Senator Toomey, Representative Rothfus, what are you afraid of? One of which is, you know, I was a first-generation college student. My mother came from coal miners around Frackville, PA, and my father's family worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad for generations, as did my brother. And I went to public school in Delaware County. I went to a state-funded university, and then I went to the Ivy League for graduate school. I am a public university professor in Pennsylvania. Senator Toomey, how can you support for Secretary of Education a woman who has claimed that public education is a dead end? No. And that is having to do with my brother, who died at the age of 54 of lung cancer. And his wife had a job for her whole life that didn't carry health benefits. Because he died at 54, he had worked for Amtrak since he was 18 years old. My dad got him the job. His dad got him his job, that's how it worked. I'm lucky I'm not working for the railroad now. Or the coal mines. And so, because he died before he was 55 years old, his benefits did not pass to her immediately. She has to wait until she's 60 years old. She's like in her 40s. He liked him young, my brother. I like to get him laughing. So it's what George pays me for. So she was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a very rare cancer. It was a cancer on a nerve in her face. Her surgery required an oncologist, a neurosurgeon, and a plastic surgeon working on her at the same time. At the same time, in an 11-hour surgery. Because of the Affordable Care Act, she able to have that surgery. And because of the... Because of the Affordable Care Act as well, she was able to, or she is ongoing, able to, until the end of this year at least, continue to have the restorative surgery that lies ahead of her and has been a multiple-year process. Senator Toomey, because my sister-in-law was left without health care after her marriage was dissolved by way of death and would have had a pre-existing condition when she was forced to go and find health care of her own, how can you say that that was an abrogation of her personal responsibility? And that she
I'm a retired speech and language pathologist, worked 35 years with the elderly unit. Actually, I'm not going to address education or my other two big issues, which are the gun safety, Washington, and I just wanted, since they didn't really talk about gerrymandering, it's not a question for you right now. I don't know if any of you follow Fair Districts, PA, but there is a bill right now that has been, read it off my thing here. It was introduced by state senators Lisa Boscola and Mario Scavello, a Republican and a Democrat, that they helped to draft and strongly support. It was introduced last Thursday. It's Senate Bill 22. It has not been put to a committee yet. So to ask, this is going to help with gerrymandering. We really need to change that. Pennsylvania is one of the worst states for that. So just kind of keep that in mind. Look up the information. You're under Fair Districts. It's Senate Bill 22. They want to at least have it posted to the website and placed in committee and move forward, because then we have to get things changed before 2020 comes around. So just wanted to say that.
My name is Deborah Viog. I'm from Mount Oliver in Pittsburgh. I'm not a public speaker, so don't expect too much. Senator Toomey. I do have a question, but what I wanted to make a statement, which is to say that it is clear that this administration wants to keep both men and women ignorant, barefoot, and pregnant. I would suggest that we definitely do need good health care, because there's going to be a lot of us if they have their way. So, my question to you. You folks have had, what, 8 years to come up with a plan? Right? 8 years. I don't think we've seen much of a plan, certainly not a viable plan. So my question is to you. To you is, he's scared. Can you guarantee that any replacement plan will cover at least as many people as would have been covered under the Affordable Care Act, which used to be known as Obamacare, and that no one will lose their coverage? That's
What a fabulous group of people. Hi, everybody. My name is Carolyn Speranza. I live in the city of Pittsburgh. I live in the neighborhood of Brookline. And I just came to, tell it on myself. I admit something to you all. I woke up the day after the election, and I realized I couldn't talk to my neighbors, and I wasn't talking to my neighbors. And in part because a very public person, I was intimidated by the guys in their pickup trucks driving really fast down my street.
Screw that.
And the dude diagonally across him had the big Trump pen sign, right? And this is in the city of Pittsburgh. So everything we know about how people vote in the city of Pittsburgh is just not fact. It's just not fact, right? And so I just took on like who I am is I'm a public person, and I have a commitment to the public space, and that is that we all communicate with each other, whether we agree or we disagree, thoughtfully. And I've made a practice of talking to my neighbors, whether I think I'm going to like them or not.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to share with you all is I realized that in part my behavior was given by the media silo that I had been living in, the horse blinder way that I was consuming media, news media, social media, all media. And I became a voluntary board member of HearYourselfThink.org. They're based in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, not far from here. And they have a project and a campaign called Making America Think Again. And it really is about thinking beyond the horse blinders, and they are a 501c3. And you can find them at hearyourselfthink.org, and I welcome you all to join us, and thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, Senator. I want to begin. I am a constituent. And in your absence, I am here to speak about some concerns I have about the current administration and what you do to represent all of us and not just those of who voted for you. You need to only turn on television or read the paper to see the agenda that Trump and his administration is not popular. Republicans in Congress are pushing for a repeal and replace plan for the Affordable Care Act, but now it's repeal and repair. Either way you approach it, the ACA is vital for millions of people in America, including those who voted for you. There are thousands of coal miners, who I'm sure many who live in Pennsylvania, who rely on the black lung coverage that they received under the Affordable Care Act, and who would lose it when you repeal this. So my question to you about the Affordable Care Act is, what will you do to protect those coal miners who voted for you who would lose that care? And then there's the matter of President Trump himself. He has shown that he wants to demonize and otherize anyone who does not agree with him. On New Year's Day, he labeled anyone who did not vote for him as his many enemies and haters. And then he called the media the enemy of the people. So not only has Mr. Trump labeled the 65 million who voted against him as his enemy, he's also labeled the press as the enemy of the people. Mr. Trump seems hell-bent on creating as many enemies as he possibly can. The people, the press, the intelligence community, the judicial branch of our government. And it is only a matter of time before he labels those in Congress as his enemy for whatever reason that Steve Bannon tells him to. And his most recent... Yes, President Steve Bannon. And his most recent attack this morning against the FBI because presumably they would not tone down or go after stories about his supposed connections to Russia.